Marneus Calgar is the chapter master of the ultramarines and has perhaps the most storied history of all the ultramarines, save the Primarch himself. He is an inspiring leader and great tactician who will always lead his warriors into battle from the front when his time is needed most. Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and today we are covering Marneus Calgar, the chapter master of the ultramarines, who is an epic hero unit for the Space Marines that also locks them into using the ultramarines datasheets. So Marneus Calgar comes in at 185 points, and while that seems quite huge, it's for a good reason. This is truly Marneus Calgar and his Victrix Honor Guard. Calgar himself has a standard Gravis character stat line, but slightly faster, at 6 inches of movement, with Toughness 6, a 2+ save, a 4+ invulnerable save, 6 wounds, Leadership 6+, and OC 1. This is a very solid stat line for a character, but then when you also get 2 Honor Guards with it, it becomes very good. The Honor Guards are 6 inches of movement, Toughness 4, as they only wear Tacticus armor. They have a 2+ save, a 4+ invulnerable save, 3 wounds, Leadership 6+, and OC 1. This makes them into their own little squad, but of course they still have leader. In terms of ranged weapons, he has his mastercrafted power fists, known as the Gauntlets of Ultramar, which have pistol and twin linked, at 18-inch range, 4 attacks, ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, AP 1, and damage 2. He's got quite a bit of spotlight in Space Marine 2. In terms of melee weapons, the Gauntlets of Ultramar are his main weaponry. They have twin-linked, 6 attacks that hit on 2s at strength 8, AP 3, and damage 3. This is a profile that's good against most things in the game, though will struggle against tough vehicles more, but with twin-linked it's not impossible for him to punch up relatively well, even without external buffs. Then, his Victrix Honor Guard get Victrix power weapons. They have 5 attacks apiece that hit on 2s at strength 5, AP 2, and damage 2, effectively a slightly souped-up Blade Guard veteran, which is basically what the Victrix Honor Guard are. In terms of abilities, he has Leader, of course, then Inspiring Leader. While Marneus Calgar is leading a unit, that unit is eligible to advance, shoot, and charge. This is super useful, just for foot slogging or just needing to get to cover. This will always be useful. Master Tactician, at the start of the command phase, if Marneus Calgar is on the board, you get 1 CP, and then while the Honor Guard are alive, Calgar has a 4+ Feel No Pain. Now he can lead almost everything in the army, but most of them I'd say are slightly pointless. In terms of aggressors, they pack a lot of firepower and like the extra speed, though they do slow him down slightly. The unit is super pricey. You could run a big unit in something like a Land Raider Crusader alongside a Biologist, but just do keep in mind they're quite fragile. They'll fall quickly to plasma weapons thanks to their lack of invulnerable save. Marneus already rerolls wounds, so I don't think there's too much use in bringing Assault Intercessors, which there is for, say, like a Captain. And then Intercessors, or Heavy Intercessors, like to be cheap and efficient, and don't really get anything from this guy as they lack melee, so they're off the table. Eradicators don't like being in melee range, so bring a Biologist for them. Infernus tend to be cheap, objective scrappers, so then they have no melee. Stern Guard is a similar thing, they just like to shoot at things. While they have a little bit of countercharge melee, I wouldn't count it as worth putting Calgar in there. Company Heroes would make a very tough unit, but you would only have so much melee damage because the only one that fights strong there is the champion. And then my personal favorite are the Blade Guard Veterans. Blade Guard Veterans are very tough, they have very good defense buff and a very good offensive buff, which is useful for everyone in the unit. And they also take up less space in transport, allowing a unit such as Eradicators to tag along. And with Blade Guard Veterans, or Aggressors, either really, they take buffs extremely well, and let's just say Marneus is a bit of a death dealer, as I like to call it. When he gets into melee with something, it's very unlikely that it's going to see the other side of it. Especially with the extra CP, you can go that extra distance of giving him the best strategy available. Speaking of, we're going to cover the detachments now. Now he's an epic hero, so no enhancements. However, in Gladius, he doesn't actually benefit much from the core rule, as he already has Advance and Shoot, which covers the 2 biggest doctrines, but Honor the Chapter is super good on him because +1 to wound with twin linked at those Gauntlets of Ultramar will make them really efficient against even Toughness 12 things, and with AP 3, even things like Land Raiders can't rely on their save to keep them safe. In Anvil, obviously, Calgar prefers to be in the thick of it, and he doesn't give that much to shooting units outside of extra CP, but I wouldn't say he has much synergy in Anvil, though if you're using Anvil and want some melee muscle, Calgar can do the job. In Iron Storm, they don't really use big infantry Death Stars, which is what Calgar is slants towards, so obviously in Iron Storm there's not much place for him. Firestorm, the Gauntlets appreciate the extra strength, turning them into effectively heavy bolters, which is, useful for clearing out infantry. Though, aside from Crucible of Battle, the strats don't do much for him. Stormlance, he already has advance and charge and doesn't have access to mounted, so really not much benefit here in Stormlance. I don't think that he has much play there. In terms of Vanguard, they generally use Blade-Driven Deep to get their death balls up the board first. And I suppose you still could do that if you brought along a Biologist for Aggressors or a Lieutenant for Blade Guard Veterans, which is, I think, a totally valid upgrade just to have a super deadly unit, and that would be very scary to have that big of a deadly unit just immediately in front of your army. Then they are going to get there very fast because they can advance and charge. He can lead Blade Guard Veterans, so he does at least have use in the first company if you're running that detachment. And if you are, I think a big unit with this guy seems like a no, it's simple. -1 damage will go a long way on all those tough 4+ invulnerable save bodies. And on the whole, he's very deadly in just about any detachment, but his favorites, I'd say, are definitely Gladius, and then probably Vanguard after that, but Gladius is the best. So, much like his lore, Marneus Calgar, he likes to just lead from the front. He does, he makes good use of Land Raiders. His unit is super valuable, though I don't think it's necessary for him to have a Land Raider, especially with the extra CP floating around. You can have this guy advancing really quite far every turn, which means getting from cover to cover shouldn't be totally impossible, and with Blade Guard Veterans, they are tough. Like, that's the long and the short of it, really. And Calgar himself, along with his Honor Guards, do a really, really massive amount of damage, especially if you give him +1 to wound. Though you do have to keep in mind, Calgar and his unit will be very expensive, probably about a quarter of your army. So you need to make sure you get the most out of them, which, can be difficult at times, just because, people are going to want to focus fire them, which is why I like Blade Guard more than Aggressors, because they can take a lot more punishment. But as I mentioned, I do think him in a Land Raider is a totally valid thing to do, and if it's a Land Raider Crusader, you could include a unit, say like Eradicators, alongside him and his Blade Guard, just because of how much space there is in there. Though, as I mentioned, him foot slogging isn't a bad option, but you just have to make sure you're getting him from cover to cover, because him being in cover along with his unit will just be so important just to stave off any extra damage, and with Armor of Contempt, they'll be really tough to kill, and with that speed, it really shouldn't be too difficult to do so. Long story short, he makes your army stronger, he hits really hard, and he leads your men well. Can't really ask more from a character unit. So just, if you're running vanilla Space Marines, maybe convert your own Marneus Calgar and run this guy as some extra muscle. Or if you're playing Ultramarines, get him and use him, because he's a sick model, he's a cool character, and he's really good in game. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. See ya.